Hello, everyone. We are happy to be with you today. Like last week, I started to make this podcast and I explained to you why. Today, I'm with Martin. It's very impressive because I think it's 2 weeks now that I discover him, his own activity, and the community. Martin is the founder of MOMA and the main farmers. I will let Martin present better himself. Yes, Martin.
Thanks for inviting me for the podcast. I'm happy to be here. So I founded MOMA about 7 years ago. We process milk from organic farmers around Amsterdam. We process it to pasteurized milk, yogurt, and some thick yogurt, Greek, like let's say Greek yogurt. And we sell it together with cheese and butter and eggs on the streets of Amsterdam, but also to cafes, local cafes. We process about 7,000 liter now every week.
7,000?
7,000, yes.
7,000 liter
Per
every
week. Yes.
Every week. Okay.
Yeah, all going to Amsterdam. And we have a community farm, which is called the Main, which means commons in Dutch.
Okay.
So it's not, so everything is privatized now. And we look at private values, but on this farm we look at community values.
Community values. What
Yes.
do you mean by community values?
Very good. Well, community values can be, for example, a clean air, clean water, healthy soil, but can also be, like we discussed today, we had a general meeting,
Yeah.
and we were talking about how we treat each other.
Yeah.
But in a commercial farm, it's about how to get output,
Yeah.
how to get as much product and low input.
How much profit?
Yes, low input,
Yeah.
high output,
Yeah.
high, better margins.
Yeah.
On this farm, we talk more about how do we treat each other, how do we treat our surroundings, and how do we divide the food that comes from this farm.
Yeah.
So we are very much focused on the social part.
What's MOMA? From where come the name? What mean MOMA?
MOMA, it comes from Mom Amsterdam. So mom, it means our mother.
Yeah.
In Friesland, the mother we call the cow. We call it our mother.
Okay.
Us men. The cow is our mother, but also the nature is our mother. So it comes from the cow, but also respecting nature.
Yeah. Like I told you before, I would like to have your own opinion about some topic, like should consumer, because I see MOMA like it's local farm, local company.
Absolutely.
So should consumer be aware of the story behind the price of the food they purchase?
Absolutely, I think it's very important. You don't see the stories behind your products, but as a consumer, you have a big impact in the world. And if you are not aware on what kind of impact you are bringing,
Yeah.
then you are making bad decisions. You're not making well-informed decisions. So
But also for consumer, it's very difficult.
yes,
to because when we go in the supermarket, it's difficult for the consumer to be sure of the story or to really know the story. How company you are own, like MOMA, can do to help the consumer to be more aware about the story behind their own product.
Yeah. Well, in the modern food supply chain, it's a very long chain. Usually before old school, maybe there was a farmer, and then maybe his wife used to go to the market,
Yeah.
and then there was the consumer. But now there's a big farmer, then there's a big corporation, then there's a processing company, then there's a wholesaler, then there's a supermarket, and in the supermarket there's a big manager, even a CEO, which has
Yeah.
Albert Heijn is global.
Yeah.
They have in the US, so you will never speak the owner. You go to the supermarket. I like to speak to the owner.
Yeah. So if I understand you, the global food trade is a problem. So
The chains are very long, so it's very unpersonal, and also the information, especially if you look at coffee or cacao or whatever, usually the traceability is very low. It's very difficult to even tell, like maybe they can tell you this is from Congo or this is from wherever, Ethiopia, or
Yeah.
but they will very rarely tell you which farm exactly it's from.
Mm.
And sometimes they don't even know which country, or it's just a commodity. Comes from the ship.
So you make me think about something like should let let's talk about the Dutch consumer.
Mhm.
Should the Dutch consumer focus on local food consumption, or we have to expand global food trade? What the solution? You think that for the Dutch consumer we can only focus on local?
Well, the Dutch agriculture as it is now is very dependent on export. Very dependent. Maybe 90% of trade or whatever is for export. So it will be very hard to change the model to focusing on local consumption. So we can never go to 100% local consumption, but our focus has been too much on export, and the local connection is too small. So absolutely, I think local consumption, direct and more short chain solutions, that's what I'm working on.
Okay.
I believe is very important. Absolutely.
Like you, how do you do to improve in that way?
Well, we our supply chain is very short. We buy from the farmer, we process, and then we sell to the consumer. That's one, two, three.
Okay.
Farmer, MOMA, consumer. So that's a very short supply chain. It doesn't have to go to factories across the country. No, it stays in the area of Amsterdam, very close to Amsterdam. So which means the food miles are very low. But also the distance between the farmer is very small. So our consumers, they can visit the farm themselves.
Mm.
And if they ask our people, are like sometimes I'm selling on the street, they ask me, I can tell them anything about the farm, you know.
Mm.
So yeah, the connection to the farm is much smaller, so people are much better informed about where the food comes from.
That's very nice. So remember me when I was really young in our village in Cameroon. We was going to the farm after with my grandmother. After the farm, we come back in the house with the food that we take direct in the farm to cook to eat. It's true that it's very wealthy. It's very good for in how you call it in English for the
For your digestive system,
for
for your
digestive
health.
system, for your health, even for your money somehow.
Mhm.
So, do you think that the model that you are trying to develop now
Mhm.
can be replicated in everywhere in Netherlands and help Netherlands to be autosufficient about their own consumption?
Yes. Well, this situation used to be more traditional, let's say. So maybe 60, 70 years ago, consumption and production was much more local.
Mm.
And you could say decentralized. Now everything is centralized. You have a few factories in the whole country.
Yeah.
Before it was much more decentralized. So you have factories in every community, you have a dairy factory. And the consumption would be very local. Local communities would consume local products.
Okay.
Before it was much more like that. So if we could do it back then, why not can we do it now?
So local community then local community was consuming local products.
Absolutely, much more. Yes.
But Netherlands, how I see Netherlands is more global country.
Yes.
So we don't have anymore only Dutch people living in the Netherlands. You think that is maybe a problem for also for the Netherlands food system? Because I think that foreigners that live in Netherlands, they always want to eat the food that that they was eating when they was living their own country. So
Well, to talk about dairy, for example, dairy is consumed worldwide, everywhere. Only some Asian countries they don't have high tolerance for dairy products, but even there they eat kind of dairy products. But and look, in Netherlands we have quite a big Moroccan community, right? Migrant workers.
yeah,
We have quite a big Moroccan community. They are, if you see people buying raw milk from the farm, I think Moroccans is one of the biggest consumers of raw milk on the farm. They go to the farm. Why? Because their food culture is very strong on buttermilk. Butter and buttermilk is very important for their food culture. So they often look for local farmers, and so
direct purchasing from local farms.
yes, it's not. And so it can perfectly go together, and also oftentimes immigrants or from, for example, Moroccan community or something, they have agricultural roots, or maybe their parents or their grandparents have agricultural roots, so they appreciate the taste and from a real product, because a farm local directly from the farm product is a different quality, and so, and oftentimes migrants, they have a stronger food culture maybe than Dutch. We don't have a very strong food culture, so they appreciate a good product.
Yeah.
So
I think you are right in many points. Like the problem with the global trade is often difficult to have the really traceability of the product. Sometimes you can have its origin from Cameroon, for Ivory Coast, for Congo, but to have the story behind the product is often difficult because also it's difficult maybe for the company that sell the product to create some space for only for the story. That's also why we have this podcast. That's also why we really say we need some kind of instrument that help global trade. To share the story behind every product, like we are making now with the MOMA. The MOMA trying to tell us about the story behind MOMA, behind this community that is support somehow MOMA. Like from Cameroon cacao. We hope that next month, we invite farmers that they are able to share their own story about cacao in the way that when about time call us or our partner that they need cacao or the new cashew kernel from Ivory Coast for cashew kernel, then we can produce story behind that cashew kernel that can support over time or other obstacle to sell the product. Like okay, it's true that we are in a global trade now. It's not also easy to stop it. We try to find a way to improve it. Then at the same time, it's also good, like you say, to develop other alternative solution like direct purchasing from local farmers. But at the same time, we try to improve that global trade through this kind of podcast of production. So let's go back from MOMA and why the name MOMA? What's the motivation behind MOMA? And how do you think that MOMA is the value creation of MOMA for their own community?
Well, that's a big question, but where we came from, the Dutch situation, I think, is different from Cameroon situation, of course. Yeah. But how? Because we are heavily industrialized, and also agriculture is heavily industrialized. You could say we are really have been historically at the forefront of development in agriculture for centuries. Our cows have been the most productive, famous to be very highly productive. Our fields for potato or whatever, for centuries have been highly productive, and our culture, agricultural culture, is very strong on efficiency and productivity. For centuries, we have been working on that.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is good, which is not only a bad thing, but we can overshoot the focus on efficiency and productivity. And what happens when you overshoot the idea of productivity? Then your fields, they become only productive fields, but there is no space for biodiversity. They don't appreciate water quality. We don't appreciate the value of air, clean air.
Yeah.
So air pollution. So all these problems in the Netherlands are quite big.
So sustainability.
Which is all can be summarized with one word,
Yeah.
which is sustainability. And this is basically directly an effect of the focus on productivity and efficiency, which is not only bad, it's very good. In some regions, it's important to focus more on productivity, where there is more of a food security issue. But over here, we're overshooting. And I think more parts of the world, we are also overshooting. We are having too much focus on productivity, and we're forgetting that biodiversity, water quality, air quality are also, key for a healthy community.
Yeah.
It's not only the output of potatoes or the output of milk.
Yeah.
But the market is not paying for that.